What if I told you that the reason so many men struggle in relationships isn't because they're too mean or too distant, but because they're too accommodating? What if I told you that the very thing you believe makes you a good partner is the very thing that makes her lose respect for you? Men think that if they just say yes enough, if they just please her enough, if they just avoid conflict enough, then she'll be happy. But that's a lie, a dangerous lie, because women do not respect men who do not respect themselves. You want to know the real secret? The men women respect the most? The ones who hold their attraction, who command admiration, who never beg for love, are the men who set boundaries. The men who say no. The men who stand firm when the world demands they bend. And today we're going to break down the 5 boundaries that will make her respect you more than ever before. Why do some men command respect effortlessly while others struggle endlessly for even a shred of acknowledgement? Why do some men find themselves constantly disrespected, overlooked, and dismissed, while others walk into a room, say very little, and yet they are noticed? I'll tell you why. It's because respect is not granted, it's earned through the unwavering enforcement of your own boundaries. And if you fail to set them, if you fail to uphold them, you will be punished for it, not by some external force, but by life itself. This is something most men don't understand, and they suffer for it. They tolerate small infractions in the beginning, a dismissive remark here, a test of their patience there, until one day they wake up and the woman they love no longer respects them. And once that happens, it's over. She cannot love you if she does not respect you. She may stay with you out of comfort, out of convenience, but that fire, that instinctual attraction, it dies. Why? Because a woman cannot truly attach herself to a man who lacks backbone. And here's the brutal truth. She will test you. Every woman will test you, not because she's cruel, not because she enjoys it, but because it's instinct. She needs to know if you are strong enough to handle not just her, but the world. If you break under pressure, if you fold the moment she challenges you, she will feel it deep in her bones that you are not the man she can rely on when things get truly difficult. So what do? You set the boundary. You make it clear, this is what I will accept, and this is what I will not. And here's the critical part. You enforce it. It is not enough to set a boundary in words. That's meaningless if your actions contradict it. A woman respects a man not for what he says he will do, but for what he actually does. If you say, I won't tolerate disrespect, but then she rolls her eyes at you in public, mocks you in front of her friends, or continually pushes your limits, and you let it slide, you have failed the test. And she knows it. And here's where men make their biggest mistake. They think that being agreeable, being nice, will make her love them more. They think if they let things go, if they accommodate, if they just try a little harder, she'll see them as good, reliable, lovable men. But it doesn't work that way. Women do not respect men who prioritize being liked over standing for something. They may appreciate the effort in the moment, but long term, it kills attraction. And attraction is not logical, it is biological. It is deep, primal, and completely outside her conscious control. She cannot choose to respect you if you do not make yourself worthy of respect. So what is the solution? The solution is courage. The courage to stand firm in who you are. The courage to say, no, I don't accept this. And the courage to face the consequences of that stance. Because let me tell you something, there will be consequences. When you enforce a boundary, you will be tested harder. The moment you say, I don't tolerate this behavior, she may push back, she may escalate, she may challenge you even more just to see if you really mean it. And this is the moment that defines you. This is where weak men cave. This is where the nice guys apologize, explain themselves, and try to smooth things over. But the men who command respect, they do something different. They stand their ground, they do not argue, they do not negotiate, they simply say, I mean what I say, and then they act accordingly. If she continues to push you, walk away. And here's the fascinating thing. That's the moment she truly sees you as a man. Because deep down, she wants to know that you respect yourself more than you fear losing her. And here's the paradox. If you are willing to walk away from her, she will chase you. If you fold under pressure, she will discard you. So let's get one thing straight. This is not about control. It's not about playing games. It's not about winning. It's about self-respect. Because a man who does not respect himself cannot expect respect from anyone else. A boundary is only as strong as your willingness to uphold it. And a man's strength is measured not by how much he can endure, but by how firmly he can stand when everything around him pressures him to fold. So the next time you're tested, the next time you feel that pull to accommodate, to bend, to let it go, don't. Stand your ground, speak your truth, hold your line. Because in that moment, you are not just earning her respect, you are proving to yourself that you are a man worthy of it. What happens when you say no? What happens when you refuse to go along with something that makes you uncomfortable? When you push back, when you dare to say, I won't tolerate this? I'll tell you what happens. At first, you'll be met with resistance. People will question you, they'll test you, they'll push against your boundaries, trying to see if you really mean what you say. And this is especially true in relationships. Because here's the hard truth. If you do not set boundaries, someone else will set them for you. And what does that mean? It means you will be led rather than leading. It means you will sacrifice your integrity bit by bit in the hope that you can keep the peace, that you can avoid conflict. But what's the cost? The cost is your self-respect. And once that's gone, you will not get it back without a fight. Now, think about the dynamic in your relationships. You want to be respected. You need to be respected. But respect is not freely given. It is extracted through the clarity of your standards and the consistency of your enforcement. And one of the most fundamental boundaries you must have, the one that will determine everything else, is the ability to say no and mean it. Let's be very clear about something. Saying no is not aggression. It is not cruelty. It is not an attack. It is the mark of someone who knows who they are. And that is a powerful thing. A man who cannot say no is a man who will be walked over. He will be manipulated. He will be dragged into obligations he never agreed to, situations that diminish him, and dynamics where he is no longer leading but merely reacting. And what does that breed? It breeds resentment. And nothing kills a relationship faster than silent, simmering resentment. Now let's talk about the cost of failing this test. A woman will instinctively probe your limits. She has to, because she needs to know that you are capable of standing firm, not just for yourself, but for her, for the family you might build, for the world that will inevitably throw challenges your way. If she can break your boundaries easily, she will lose respect for you. And, as I've said before, once the respect is gone, love follows. A woman will not stay attracted to a man she can push around. You might think that constantly accommodating her, always agreeing, always being the nice guy will make her love you more. But it won't. It will make her despise you. Maybe not consciously, maybe not immediately, but deep down she will feel that she is with a man who lacks backbone. And do you know what happens when you lack backbone? She will start to control you. She will set the rules. She will dictate the terms. And eventually she will leave you for someone stronger. Because deep down she wants a man who stands firm. She wants a man who is stronger than she is. And strength is not physical, though that helps. Strength is psychological. It is the ability to say, no, I don't accept that. No, I won't be treated that way. No, I have standards and they are non-negotiable. And here's where most men fail. They think, well, if I say no, she'll leave. And maybe she will. And that's the point. Because if she leaves because you set a reasonable boundary, if she cannot handle a man who has self-respect, then she was never the right woman for you to begin with. You're not supposed to bend and twist yourself into something acceptable just to keep her. That's weakness. And weakness breeds contempt. So what do? You practice saying no. You get comfortable with it. You stop explaining yourself endlessly. Stop justifying every decision. Stop seeking permission to be who you are. And most importantly, you enforce it. You say no once. If she disrespects it, you don't argue. You act. You step away. You withdraw your energy. You remove yourself from the equation. And this is critical. Because when she sees that you are not afraid to walk away, that you are not desperate, that you will not tolerate disrespect, that's when she will truly respect you. And here's the paradox. The moment she realizes she cannot push you around, that's the moment she will be most attracted to you. Because respect comes before love. It is the foundation. And if you do not demand it, you will never receive it. So the next time you feel that pressure, that test, that subtle challenge, you know what to do. You stand your ground. You enforce your boundaries. And you make it very clear you are not a man who can be pushed over. Because the moment you truly believe that about yourself, the world will believe it too. What happens when you tolerate disrespect? What happens when you allow someone to cross a line just once, just a little, just this one time, and you do nothing about it? I'll tell you what happens. You teach them that your boundaries are optional. You teach them that you don't value yourself enough to defend what is yours, your dignity, your self-respect, your sense of identity. And once you send that message, even unconsciously, it does not go unnoticed. In relationships, this is lethal because respect is the foundation of attraction. A woman must respect you before she can love you. If she does not respect you, she cannot love you. Not in the way you want, not in the way that will sustain a relationship. And the fastest way to lose that respect, it's by failing to enforce your standards. Now, let's be very clear. Having standards doesn't mean you're controlling. It doesn't mean you're a tyrant. It means you know what you will and will not accept. It means you are conscious of what devalues you and you refuse to participate in it. And the critical thing about standards is this: they are only as strong as your willingness to walk away when they are violated. A standard without consequences is not a standard, it's a suggestion. And suggestions don't command respect. Let's take a real-world example. You're with a woman and she starts testing you. Maybe she speaks to you with a sharp edge, a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of disdain. Maybe she flirts with another man in front of you, not dramatically, just subtly enough to see how you'll react. Maybe she dismisses your opinion, rolls her eyes, treats you as if your voice carries no weight. What do? Most men, especially those who are desperate for approval, will ignore it. They'll rationalize it. Oh, she's just joking. Oh, she's had a long day. Oh, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Because the moment you let it slide, you send a signal you are willing to be disrespected. And once you set that precedent, the line will move. Today it's sarcasm. Tomorrow it's contempt. A month from now it's blatant disregard for your presence, your feelings, your worth. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. So what should you do? You call it out. Not emotionally, not reactively, not with anger, but with calm, unwavering certainty. You look her in the eye and say, "Don't talk to me like that." Or, if you think that's acceptable, you're mistaken. Or, "I don't tolerate disrespect." And then you observe. If she respects you, she will adjust. Maybe she didn't even realize she was doing it. Maybe she was testing you without consciously knowing it. But if she has any regard for you, she will correct herself. And if she doesn't, you leave. not as a manipulation, not as a game, but as a statement of reality. You do not negotiate your self-respect. You do not plead for it. You demonstrate it. And if someone refuses to meet you at that level, they are not for you. And here's the paradox. The very moment you show that you will not tolerate disrespect is the moment you become most respected. The moment you prove that you are willing to walk away from mistreatment is the moment you become most attractive. Because respect is not given, it is earned. It is the natural response to strength. And listen, this is not just about relationships. This is about everything. Your friendships, your workplace, your family. If you allow yourself to be disrespected anywhere, it will affect you everywhere. Because once you accept a diminished position, you become a diminished man. And do you know the most tragic part? Most men never reclaim what they've lost, because the longer you tolerate disrespect, the harder it is to stand up for yourself. The more you accept, the weaker you feel, and weakness does not inspire love, it does not create connection, it does not build a life you are proud of. So what's the solution? You set the boundary before it's crossed. You make it clear in action, not just words, that you respect yourself first. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, if that causes friction, if it makes a woman walk away, then good, because the only people who will leave when you enforce your self-worth are the people who were never going to respect you anyway. And the ones who remain, they will respect you more, they will trust you more, because they will see a man who is not for sale, a man who does not beg for approval, a man who is whole. And that is the man who commands love, admiration, and loyalty. So make your choice, let it slide and lose yourself, or stand firm and gain the respect that can never be taken from you. What happens when you let someone invade your space, your time, your energy, your very being without consequence? What happens when you let a woman take more than she gives, disrespect more than she values, manipulate more than she loves? I'll tell you what happens. You become a pawn in your own life, a man without direction, a man whose choices are dictated by the comfort or approval of someone else. And when that happens, you are no longer leading your life, you are following hers. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who has surrendered his authority over himself. Because let me be very clear about something, women test men, not maliciously, not always consciously, but instinctively. They push, they prod, they challenge. Why? Because they need to know if you are solid. They need to know if you are a man with a backbone, a man who will stand his ground. And if you fail that test, if you yield to pressure, if you allow yourself to be guilt-tripped, manipulated, or shamed into submission, she will never respect you again. She may stay, she may pretend, she may even convince herself for a while that it's fine, but deep down, her admiration for you dies. And once that happens, the relationship is over. Because women do not fall in love with men they pity. They do not desire men they can push around. They do not admire men who cave at the first sign of conflict. So how do you prevent this? You draw the line. You make it unmistakably clear through action, not just words, that there are limits to what you will accept. And this isn't about controlling her. This isn't about trying to dominate or demand obedience. That's not strength. That's insecurity in disguise. No, this is about being immovable in your self-respect. It's about sending a message that says, I am a man of value, and I will not sacrifice my integrity just to keep the peace. Let me give you an example. You tell a woman you have certain principles, maybe about how you spend your time, maybe about what kind of behavior you find unacceptable, and then one day she tests it. She violates that principle just slightly, just to see how you react. Maybe she cancels on you last minute. Maybe she flirts with other men in front of you. Maybe she speaks to you in a way that undermines you. At that moment, you have two choices. You ignore it, you rationalize it, you let it slide, and in doing so, you prove to her that your words mean nothing, or you stand up, not with anger, not with desperation, but with calm, unwavering certainty, and you make it very clear that you will not accept it. And then you watch. Because a woman who respects you will correct herself. A woman who is truly invested in you will recognize the boundary and adjust. But a woman who does not respect you will double down. She will test again. She will push harder. And at that point, you have to ask yourself, is this someone worth keeping in my life? Because here's the brutal truth. If she refuses to respect your boundaries, she refuses to respect you, and if you allow that to continue, you are training her, training yourself, to believe that you deserve less than what you do. And that is the beginning of the end for you as a man. Because the moment you accept disrespect, you become a man who tolerates disrespect. The moment you betray your own standards, you become a man who cannot be trusted, not by her, and worse, not by yourself. So you need to decide, what kind of man are you going to be? The man who pleads for respect, hoping, praying that she will one day see your value, or the man who commands respect simply by existing as a man of principle? Because that is the difference between a life of frustration and a life of fulfillment. And if you think enforcing boundaries will make you lose women, then let me tell you something. The only women you will lose are the ones who were never going to respect you in the first place. And those are not the women you want. But the ones who remain, the ones who recognize your strength, who see that you are not swayed by manipulation, who understand that you stand for something, those women will admire you, they will trust you, they will respect you more. And that, my friends, is the foundation of a real relationship. One built not on submission, not on desperation, but on mutual respect. So, stand firm. Be the man who draws the line. Because in the end, a man without boundaries is a man without honor. And a man without honor, he has already lost. What happens when a man loses himself in a relationship? What happens when he bends so much, compromises so often, and swallows so much resentment that one day he looks in the mirror and doesn't even recognize the man staring back at him? I'll tell you exactly what happens. He becomes invisible, not just to himself, but to her. And let me be very clear, women do not respect men who abandon themselves for the sake of a relationship. They do not admire men who trade their dignity for approval. And yet so many men do this. They enter a relationship strong, independent, and full of purpose, but over time they start negotiating away their identity. They suppress their opinions to avoid conflict. They let go of their ambitions because they think their relationship demands it. They put her needs so far ahead of their own that in the end they are nothing but a servant to her expectations. And do you know what she does? She resents him for it. Because women don't fall in love with men who serve them. They fall in love with men they can admire. And admiration comes from strength. It comes from standing for something, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient. So here's the boundary you must set. The boundary of self-respect. You do not sacrifice your integrity just to keep a woman happy. You do not say yes when your heart is screaming no. You do not apologize for being a man of principle. And look, this doesn't mean you become some selfish tyrant who never considers his partner's feelings. That's not leadership. That's narcissism. But it does mean that you refuse to abandon yourself. It means that when you have a dream, you pursue it, even if it makes her uncomfortable. It means that when you have values, you hold them, even if she tests them. It means that when you have a voice, you use it, even when silence would be easier. Because a woman cannot respect a man who does not respect himself. And respect, that is the foundation of everything. Without respect, love turns into obligation. Attraction turns into tolerance. Passion turns into routine. And when that happens, the relationship dies. So what do? You draw the line. You make it very clear that you will not trade your purpose for comfort, your strength for peace, or your integrity for approval. And I'll tell you something, some women will hate that. Some will push back. Some will say you're selfish or too difficult. And do you know what you do? You let them leave. Because the right woman, the one truly worth your time, doesn't want a man she can control. She wants a man she can trust. And she can only trust you if she knows you won't fold under pressure. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. Are you willing to be the man who stands his ground? Are you willing to be the man who says, this is who I am, and I will not betray myself to keep you? Because if you are willing to negotiate your identity for the sake of comfort, then I'll tell you exactly what will happen. You will lose her anyway. And worse, you will have lost yourself in the process. But if you stand firm, if you refuse to compromise on the man you are meant to be, then not only will the right woman respect you more, but you will respect yourself. And that, my friends, is the foundation of a life worth living. So be the man who will not break. Be the man who refuses to sell his soul for approval. Because in the end, the world does not respect a man who begs to be loved. It respects the man who demands it by being someone truly worthy of it.